My name is Kelly Whitlock Burton, and I am the chair of the Lincoln County Dems. Welcome to all of you who are joining us for the first time. If I could get just a show of the hands that Autumn just showed you how to use, how many people here are here for a first meeting? I'm seeing some people doing this. This is great. Good to see this. Very good to see this. Again, my name is Kelly Whitlock Burton. I'm the chair of the Lincoln County Dems. We usually start our meetings with a land acknowledgement, that I will read for you now. The Lincoln County Democratic Committee acknowledges that we are meeting on unceded Wabanaki land. The Wabanaki Nations, the Penobscot Nation, the Passamaquoddy Tribe, the Holton Band of Maliseet Indians, and the Mi'kmaq Nation have stewarded the lands and waters of Lincoln County and all of Maine for more than 12,000 years. We acknowledge the cultural and physical genocide of the Wabanaki caused by colonialism and recognize that the impact of that history on tribal citizens persists today. We support ongoing decolonization efforts and affirm that Wabanaki nations are distinct, sovereign, legal, and political entities with their own powers of self-governance and self-determination. I am beyond thrilled to introduce our first speaker for the evening, Congresswoman Chellie Pingree. Chellie was elected to the U.S. House in 2008 to represent Maine's 1st congressional district, and she was the first woman to hold that office. She serves on the House Appropriation Committee and the Agriculture Committee. Before she was elected to Congress, she served 4 terms in the Maine Senate, and including she was also the Senate Majority Leader. Chellie, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that you don't remember this because you meet so many of your constituents, but the first time that I actually met you in person was in 2017, I believe. And I remember you came in to meet myself and to meet me and a friend of mine who were there to see you. And you said, I'm going to have to go vote no on something here in just a minute, because at that time the Republicans were in control of the House. We had a nice stint there where you were able to vote yes on a lot of things. Unfortunately, I think we're back to that time period where a lot of the votes, when they do happen, are not necessarily the kind of votes on bills that we would like to see happen. But we're excited to have you here tonight and just to hear from you about what's going on in Congress, particular issues that are of interest to you, and then we'll take some questions from the people here with us tonight.
Great. Well, thank you for that memory. And thank you so much for having me. Thank you for starting with the land acknowledgement of the meeting. And thank you to everybody who's a Lincoln County Democrat. Great to be with you, Kelly. And also I know Bev from the state party is going to be on, and some of the candidates and people currently serving in the legislature. So I'm very excited to be with all of you tonight, and can't tell you how nice it is to be in a virtual room with Democrats. And I'm actually out of DC this week. I'm in Maine because we're on a recess. So while we should be in Washington getting some of our work done, I'm still very happy to be here in Maine. And I'm happy to talk a little bit about sort of the current state of affairs in Washington and the challenges that we're facing. And I'm also just really pleased to answer your questions or hear suggestions from all of you. So want to keep it fairly informal. So here we are, we're getting ready to face another election year. We're in the 2nd year of this particular Congress. And, you know, we're probably the most do nothing of all do nothing Congresses, but that's a term that gets thrown around a lot. And it's hard to tell if this is the worst Congress ever or if there have been worse ones. We're also maybe in the most important election of our lifetime, and we throw that term around a lot too. But I truly think some of the issues that we're facing right now and what's at stake in this election may be the most important election of our lifetime. Just a little summary about this particular Congress. As you know, the Republicans control the Congress, not by very many votes. And I'm sure many of you watched the drama of getting our first speaker elected, Kevin McCarthy. And saw how difficult it is for them to do literally anything, including elect a speaker or have a speaker, with such small margins, but also with the influence of their Freedom Caucus. They call them Freedom. We call them the crazies or the exotics, or a whole number of different terms, but with people who are just very extreme in their beliefs, or just driven by the views of our former president, Trump, who often tries to exert his influence on Congress. What it means is that it's almost impossible for them to pass anything, even though they have a majority and they have things on their agenda, usually extreme things. It's very hard for them to pass anything except the most extreme of sort of ideological legislation. When it comes to keeping the government open, doing the appropriations process, the bills that we have to do every year or every 2 years of Congress, they have been unable to do that. The only times we've passed a continuing resolution, which is what we're doing right now to keep the government open instead of the 12 appropriations bills that we're supposed to do, but the continuing resolution, which just keeps us going for a month at a time with the money we were previously spending, the only way they're able to do that is with Democratic votes. Now, not to get too wonky or, boring about this, but this Republican Congress and the ones I've been in previously have a rule that they only want to pass legislation with the majority and the majority. And people usually think that legislating is a compromise with some Republicans and some Democrats on most issues, and then you move forward. They don't like working that way. When they do have to come to the Democrats for votes, that's usually been a reason to recall their speaker. So that's what happened in previous years to John Boehner. It's what happened to Kevin McCarthy. And now you've got this particular speaker who doesn't really want to do much of anything if he has to get Democratic votes. So that's part of why we can't move forward on anything, because even though there's always enough votes kind of in the middle for most things like passing an appropriations bill or a variety of other things, they're unwilling to go ahead and do that. So that's why we're locked down so much of the time. We do have another deadline looming. That would be March 1st and March 8th for the first time ever. They've split our 12 subcommittees on appropriations apart. So they've split those bills apart. March 1st, as you know, is next week. We were originally scheduled to be on recess right now for 2 weeks, but we're going to go back early next week and see if we can get that done. I'm a subcommittee ranking member, so I'm a chair when we're in the majority, and I'm a ranking member when we're not. That's the Interior Appropriations, Interior and Environment bill. I have a pretty good working relationship with the chair of the committee. He and I have put bills together before, and we've managed to finish most of our bills. So if our bill were to come up for a vote next week, on the issues that we can work out, unfortunately, we've had to make some budget cuts because the Republicans, anyway, because we have an agreement with the Republican to do a certain amount of cutting. So, but we've managed to preserve the things that were most important and not do as many cuts as we could have had to do. Anyway, I'm getting a little too wonky here, but we might get held up because of what they call the riders. So the riders are those ideological attachments. Sometimes they're about abortion. Sometimes they're about LGBTQ issues. On my bill, a lot of them are denying climate change or things that the Freedom Caucus is demanding in order to vote for a bill. That could cause us some problems next week or when we get ready to come for a vote. And that could sink us again, in which case we'll have to go for yet another continuing resolution. At some point, we may end up having a government shutdown if we can't come to some kind of an agreement. So anyway, I didn't mean to get quite so wonky on that, but that is sort of the state of where that is right now and what we're most likely to do. I guess in stepping back and looking at this Congress, it's extremely frustrating, but so much easier to function in a Congress when you have control of the Senate and the White House, so that we know that the president could veto anything. We know that most of the terrible bills that come up in the House get no traction in the Senate, so they never even get taken up. In a way, we just see our goal is keeping bad things from happening. And that's a terrible way to run a government. But for the most part, we are able to stop them on most bad things. As you know, we have some things that we have to get done. I just went into too long of a description on trying to get the appropriations bills passed just so we could keep the government open. But also we have the security supplemental, which did pass in the Senate. Now, there are some good things about that and some bad things. I'm a strong supporter of funding for Ukraine, and I would like to see us get some more of that funding done. It also has funding for Israel, which we all have a lot of conflicted feelings about, but more importantly, it has humanitarian aid that would go to Palestine. So that's a critically important thing. It has this very complex budget agreement. Some things we like, some things we don't like about it. But whatever happens, it should be taken up by the House. It should get a vote. It would pass. It would pass in the House. Not everybody is for every piece of it, but it would eventually pass. And right now the speaker says he won't take it up. His argument for not taking it up is all related to this complicated border discussion and immigration discussion, which is very disingenuous on the part of the Republicans, as many of you know. Of course, a big looming issue that people ask us about often is the situation in Gaza and Israel. It's a horrendous situation. It was awful to see the attack of Hamas on Israel, but Israel's response to it has been nothing that any of us feel comfortable about. I called for a ceasefire back in November and have signed on to many, many letters to the administration on everything from money that's going into the West Bank to support the settlers that I think is often misused, to ensuring that we get more Palestinian aid. There's just a whole variety of things around that, but it's obviously a terrible situation. And we all wish that Netanyahu could be removed as the leader of Israel right now, because he's not running this war in a reasonable way, and he's not doing he's not doing a good job in his job, and he wasn't before this even started. So, but dealing with that whole situation and the funding issues around it are one of the things that Congress does have to get done. Dealing particularly in Ukraine, I think is very important. I don't know what will happen when we get back. On the bright side of things, because those are sort of the wonky or hard side of things, there are areas where we're doing some moderately good bipartisan work. This is the year that we reauthorized the Farm Bill, 2023 Farm Bill. The last one was 2018, so it comes up every 5 years. I'm a member. I've been on that committee a long time. I've been through other farm bills, and we've been able to really have a good impact on it over time. This will be a harder year to do that because we'll have to come to an agreement with the Republicans to pass it. But many of the things that we care a lot about in Maine have been able to come to fruition in the Farm Bill. We've been able over time to emphasize a lot more support for locally grown produce, getting more locally grown foods into school lunches or into institutions, support for small to mid-sized farmers in a variety of ways, support for farmers markets. We have a lot of climate change related policy that's come out over the last few years, and some of it was funded in the Inflation Reduction Act, but that's money that goes to farmers who use better practices. Everything from organic farmers to farmers who just use less tilling of their land or cover crops, all things that help us to sequester more carbon in the soil, which is really important in this era of looming climate change challenges and really the climate change crisis that we're already in. We've also tried to implement more on the nutrition side of helping people get more healthy fruits and vegetables, increasing the allocation for SNAP benefits, and also really implementing food as medicine, helping to do more around the wellness side of food and making sure people have access to healthier foods on the sort of staying healthy side, instead of always spending our money on disease and sort of the other side of it. The climate change work is also vitally important, and the Republicans would have us undo that if they could. As I mentioned, I'm the ranking member on the Interior Appropriations Committee, so we've already had that bill on the floor once, and it was a litany of bad amendments from the Republicans on everything from emissions standards to denial of climate change, just outright, and trying to reverse much of what we've done. As many of you know, the Inflation Reduction Act was really the most significant investment in climate change that Congress has ever made. And that's everything from money that's already been coming into Maine for renewable energy, for better transportation, and also a lot of tax credits that homeowners can take advantage of for everything from buying an electric car to putting solar panels on the roof. And I highly recommend that you do a little research on what you might be eligible for, and anything that you could do will be great and bring down your own utility bills by using more renewable energy. So that's a great opportunity out there right now. And then we have our presidential election, and, you know, God forbid we ever have to go back to having Donald Trump as our president again. It was by far the worst 4 years I spent in Congress. While I might be in a do-nothing Congress right now, it is a do-nothing Congress. It's just a Congress you try to stop from doing bad things. If Trump ever had control of the House, the Senate, and the White House, or even if he just came back again, that 4 years we had to serve with the worst possible cabinet secretaries, people who didn't believe in governing, many of whom, you know, came from the oil and gas industry or the pharmaceutical industry, who were just there to undo the function of government. They cut staff back at levels that we're still trying to recover from. We lost incredibly talented people who worked in government, whose positions were removed under that era. And I think given the denial that goes on now in the Republican Party about climate change, given the words that come out of Donald Trump's mouth about undoing NATO and undoing our alliances around the world, we would be in very, very tough shape. So that is a prospect I never want to see again. I'm hoping we can win back the House. We're only need 4 seats right now. We won that special election in Long Island. So it is very, very close. And we have 17 seats that are swing seats, that are districts where Joe Biden won the election last time. And we have a very vigorous campaign going on with the people we call our frontliners, the people we really have to preserve those seats. So I truly believe we can get there, but as we all know, a week is a long time in politics. So the next few months will be an eternity, and a lot could change, and a lot could have an impact on what we have to face. I know I've left all kinds of things out, and I'm sure you all have good ideas and questions and suggestions. So let me stop there and let you just ask questions or give me your thoughts. And again, I just want to thank you for taking time to listen to me. And so many of you are the very ones who've made it possible for me to serve as your Congresswoman, and I'm really, really grateful for that. So thanks for being with me today.
Thank you so much for that, Congresswoman Pingree. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for having me. It was wonderful. Your questions are, of course, always talking about the critical things we need to be thinking about. And I'm really honored to serve you. Happy to have any of you come visit in Washington anytime. So just let me know when you can take a tour through there, and we're happy to have you visit and show you around the Capitol, but also just to hear from you in our office if you have concerns about anything or there's any way we can be helpful to you. So keep up all the good work. We've got a tough election ahead of us, and good luck to all the candidates who are coming next. It's absolutely important to have a good crew in the Maine legislature and support our governor in doing the work that we have to do in Maine, and not just supporting the governor, doing the landmark work the legislature does. It's critically important.
Thank you so much. And everyone, let's give Shelley a round of applause. You can unmute yourselves, perhaps, or you can all just see that. Actually, just seeing the
Thank
hands.
you. I can see it. Thank
Good.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank
It
you.
is- it
Thank
is-
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Bev Ulenake, the chair of the Maine State Party, is here with us tonight. We had planned to get an update, but you know what? We're not going to miss an opportunity to hear from our Congresswoman when she has the time to give to us. Almost 50 minutes, almost an hour. So, I mean, how often does that happen in how many other states? Truly. But I wanted to give Bev just the floor for just a moment to say a couple of things, and then we are going to get to our candidates, several of whom our current legislators have been in Augusta all day long, and I think at least one of them is en route home, calling in from her car. So Bev, please, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your patience and for your agreeing to come back for us another month.
No problem. You guys need to remember that originally I was supposed to be here in August and
Oh, that's
couldn't
right.
make it
Okay.
because my mother was in town. So I've canceled on you before, so no worries. Um, can I, before Congresswoman Pingree goes, I just want to reiterate how lucky we are to have her serving us all. And thank you so much, Shelley, for all your hard work.
Yeah, well,
Um,
thanks, Deb. You got the tougher job, so keep up the good work.
It's a fun job. It's a fun job. One of the things I told Kelly that I needed to have just a moment to talk to you guys because we just got done with caucuses. They were February 3rd and 4th. Lincoln County knocked it out of the park. And I just need to congratulate you all and tell you what a wonderful job you did. I don't know that there were larger caucuses anywhere other than maybe Portland, but like your largest caucus was just shy of what the Portland caucus had, and they had a whole lot more people to start with. So I just want you to all pat yourselves on the back. When we talk about that factor of being excited about the elections, it all starts with caucuses because that's when we start recruiting people to go to convention and to volunteer. And you guys did it. So that's all I want to say tonight. Yes, I will come back. Yes, I will give you an update on what we're doing for elections, but I could not let tonight go without saying congratulations to Lincoln County Dems, to Kelly, your fearless leader, to all of the Muni chairs, to all of your caucus conveners. You did a great job. So thank you all.
I just wish that April Thibodeau was here tonight to hear that praise because truly the bulk of the kudos do go to her. I mean, she made sure that we were all trained. Many of us, this was the first time we'd ever been a convener at a caucus, and that included myself here in Waldoboro. And she made it easy. From everything I've heard, it was
Fantastic.
seamless. We had 17 of our, no, excuse me, 18 of our 19 towns caucused. We had newly elected officers in every single one of them. We had 2 towns decide to form a new regional committee. We had the other towns that were already in our Booth Bay Region Committee reaffirm that commitment. So this was definitely, it's wonderful. And April and all of our conveners and our municipal chairs just did an outstanding, they're the ones who knocked it out of the park. But Bev, thank you so much.
Kelly, you got to take some credit.
No,
Just
I
say
really
it.
don't.
There's some leaderships. There's some
It is a
leadership there.
team. It is a team effort. It is a team effort. When you got a lot of good stuff to start with, it's easy to be a leader.
Well, thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you all at some meeting coming up. I will sort of sit in the background because I want to hear from your candidates. So
Great. Thank
there
you.
you go.
Please stay as long as you like. We do have a number of our candidates who were not able to be with us tonight, but we have most of them here with us. These are candidates who will be on your ballot here in Lincoln County. Obviously, Representative Pingree is going to be one of those. She is running for re-election. We also have here with us tonight David Costello, who is a Democratic candidate running for the United States Senate. David, are you here? I believe you were here earlier. Good, thank you. David, welcome
Can you
to the
hear?
Lincoln
I'm sorry.
County. Yes, we can. Welcome to the Lincoln County Dems. Many of us had an opportunity to meet you at our lobster bake last August. It's really nice to see you again. I should preface this by saying this is just an introduction of our candidates. We are going to have everyone back, including David, who will come back at another meeting where they will have more opportunity to talk about the plans they would have should they be elected or reelected, and you will have an opportunity to ask all the candidates questions. That opportunity will not come tonight, but it will come. We're still early. This is just February. But tonight, David, please introduce yourself and share with everyone why you're running for the United States Senate. And also, please, we're going to share links into the chat where people can go to find more information about the candidates, sign up to volunteer, and all of that. David, please.
Thanks. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you very much. And I guess I'd start out by thanking the Congresswoman Pingree for what a wonderful job she's doing in DC and literally just say ditto in terms of my positions as it relates to much of the policies. And I certainly appreciate her explanation of the dysfunction in Washington. Just a little quickly about myself. I grew up in a working class family in Old Town. I was born in Bangor. I'm the proud son of a labor organizer and grandson of French and Irish American shoe, textile, and railroad workers, which of course is a big part of Maine. I would also say that I cut my political teeth as a boy in Old Town in Bangor on picket lines as mills were closing, particularly the shoe mills, as well as some other establishments at that time. In college, I dropped out of college as a 19-year-old to work on my first of 3 Democratic presidential campaigns, national campaigns. And I've been a very active Democrat and committed Democrat since that time. I have more than 25 years of senior level state, local, and federal government assistance, experience both here in the US and abroad. I've worked in countries in conflict, for instance, in Haiti, Cambodia, Kosovo, Bosnia. And again, I would only say ditto as to what Congresswoman Pingree has said about what's going on in Gaza. And I've spent some time in Israel, although that was some time ago. I would also just to add to what she had said, because I do believe she did such a great job of explaining the dysfunction in Washington. And that's why I'm running. Like many of you, I'm very concerned about the health of our democracy and the performance of our government. And that's really what's driving me to really push to try to be an evangelist for substantive change. I really don't think that simply changing who we elect every couple of years is working. That I think we've got to take a hard look at the our governing practices and structures, quite frankly. I mean, as many of you know, the easy fixes, and they haven't come about yet, are campaign finance reform, ending the gerrymander, the filibuster, Senate holds, campaign finance reform. But we've got to even go deeper than that over time if we're really going to ensure that our Congress is democratic, responsive, and accountable, because it simply isn't working. It's in my 30 years or so in politics and government, it's only gotten worse. It's hard to believe where we are today, quite frankly. So I would just say this: take a look at the reform agenda I'm trying to pursue. I've outlined it. It's certainly not my original ideas. It's the collection of ideas that most political scientists and economists have been pushing for decades. And you can see it on the website. And I think Kelly said she has posted my website. And the other thing I would say, the other reason I'm running, aside from really trying to push the kind of change that's going to drive the policies that I think many of us support, certainly Shelley supports in Congress and has supported for a number of years, is that I also believe it's important for us to really push back against what I believe is a false narrative that both parties are at fault for the dysfunction of Washington. I certainly don't believe that. I think we've got to do a much better job in saying that Democrats have been willing to compromise and putting forward popular, responsible, sensible legislation for decades. And it's that the growing intransigence of one party that has prevented progress and continues to prevent progress. So I really want to, as I said, push very hard against that narrative, and also against, anyway, I'll just leave it there. I think I've taken up a couple of minutes. Kelly, thank you very much. Thank you all. And I hope to see you again sometime soon.
Absolutely. David, I'll follow up with you after this meeting about what month might work well for you. And David's website is in the chat, so you can take a look at it there. Senator Cameron Rennie, who serves Senate District 13, which is all of Lincoln County except for Dresden, unfortunately could not be here tonight, but she did record a video, which I think Autumn is going to try to share now.
Hi everyone, it's me, Cameron Rennie. I am currently the state senator for District 13, which is most of Lincoln County, as well as the towns of Washington and Windsor. I currently live in my hometown of Bristol with my husband Adam and our 2 boys. George is 6 now and Leon is 3. Before becoming a state legislator, I was a school counselor and a public educator for my career. And I'm happy to report that those skills that made me an effective school counselor have also helped make me an effective legislator. So it's skills like the ability to work with people I don't necessarily see eye to eye with, things like being able to navigate complicated webs of relationships while problem solving, and really just the basics of seeking first to understand, then to be understood have helped me get things done. So I credit these skills with being part of the reason I've been able to get 5 bills signed into law in my very first year. I credit these skills as being helpful in my work as a chair of the Marine Resources Committee. Almost every single bill that we have voted out of committee has been unanimous, which means we've all come to an agreement and been able to get on the same page. I am currently still in my first term as a legislator, and I've been focusing on the issues I campaigned on, primarily affordable housing, dealing with climate change, and of course trying to make the healthcare system more just, more accessible, more affordable. I know I don't have time to get into all of the details. I did provide some links if you're interested in learning more. For affordable housing, I sponsored LD 724 as well as LD 1276, which really tackle affordable housing in rural areas. As far as climate change is concerned, I'm on the Maine Climate Council, put in a bill for the Wiscasset Water Charter, and I've been a big proponent of community action grants. Then as far as healthcare is concerned, I've done a lot of things since I also serve on the Health Coverage, Insurance, and Financial Services Committee, but specifically you can look at LD 722 and LD 1829, which focus on removing red tape and reining in the costs of pharmaceuticals, prescription drugs. We've gotten a lot of good work done the past session and in our current session. That is thanks to the majorities that we have in the Senate and in the House. I believe the lovely Holly Stover and Lydia Crafts are there somewhere. They're doing important work as well. We need to keep those majorities. And as much as we've gotten good things done, we need to get more good things done. There's always more to do. So we need your help to do that. Please, if you haven't given us $5 for clean elections, please give us $5. There will be links for that. And you'll also be able to sign up to volunteer when it's time to do things like that. Things like knocking doors or driving around other people who will knock doors, including myself or other candidates. It can make a really big difference. So thank you all. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person, and I'm sure we'll be in touch soon. Bye.
And the wonderful news of technology that we were able to do that. In Senate District 14, which does include Dresden, we have a Democratic primary between Jean Gazzetti and Denise Tepler. Jean could not be here this evening, but Andrew Francis, who works with her campaign, is here to just share a little bit about it. And we're going to share some links to her contact information in the chat. Andrew, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Can folks hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Kelly. It's been a long time. I was getting nostalgic. It's been a long time since I've been on a Zoom call with you. For folks who don't know, for 12 years, I used to work for the Maine People's Alliance. And so Kelly and I worked very closely together. And so it's bringing back memories of many coalition calls. Thanks for having me. And my goodness, the number of folks on this call is so great. And I think it's just a testament to the strength of our party to have this many folks join a Zoom call at the end of February. My name is Andrew Francis. I am the campaign manager for Jean Gazzetti's Senate campaign. Unfortunately, Jean could not be here today. She is out of town this weekend, taking her eldest daughter to look at colleges, which is a very exciting time. Her oldest daughter is a senior in Morse High School. So I am here in her place. And I'm just happy to share a little bit about Jean and sort of why she's running, and certainly why, if any folks are on this call happen to be in the town of Dresden, why I hope you can support Jean the June 11th primary. So Jean is a single mom of 2 girls. She is currently going to law school. Her kids are in high school and middle school. She's a Bath resident. And in her previous life, she's worked for Efficiency Maine and for the Public Utilities Commission. She spent many years as a legislative analyst for the Energy and Utilities Committee in the legislature. A few years ago, she was a military spouse and then sort of found herself very unexpectedly no longer a spouse and a single mother, caring for two girls without health care and looking for affordable housing. Coming back to this country stateside during 2016 when the world just seemed very much turned upside down, and she wanted to find a way to get involved with local politics. Fast forward to many years later, and she was asked to step up and be the Register of Probate for Saginaw County. And she served in that position until she stepped down in the summer to be able to go to law school and to run for state senate. And so, personally, when I think about why I'm supporting Jean as somebody who has worked in Maine politics for over a decade, I feel like she checks a lot of important boxes and that she is just driven to be a force of good for her community. She cares very much about the people in her community, and she wants to do right by folks. She is dedicated to good policy making. She certainly has that background. And she is just thoroughly committed to public service. When people have asked her to step up and run, to run for Register of Probate, to step up and run for state senate, she's always been there to answer the call, which I think is incredibly commendable. And anybody who's willing to step into public service this day and age should be commended. And then, finally, I also consider personnel as policy. And for me personally, I would like to see a legislature that is more representative of our state in many ways. And I certainly think that our legislature would be better served, this day and age by having folks with a lot of important lived experience having a seat at the table and helping to work to pass those laws. And so I certainly think that Jean fits the bill on a lot of those counts. So yeah, I'm happy to share information in the chat if it hasn't already been shared. Jean is running as a clean elections candidate, and we would absolutely love a $5 contribution if you are in Senate District 24.
Great. Thank you, Andrew, and we look forward to having Jean at a future meeting. Denise Tepler is the other Democrat running for Senate District 24. Denise, welcome.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It's nice to meet you. I apologize for my funny voice, but I have a cold that I got from my granddaughter, and it seems to be the never-ending cold, unfortunately. My granddaughter just started daycare in January, and we've all been sick since she started with childcare. And that is one of the issues that I'm concerned about is childcare. But I want to say, first of all, thank you for having me here. I'm very excited to possibly be a person who represents a section of Lincoln County. I very much enjoyed the Dresden caucus. The turnout was amazing. Folks were there and they listened to a very interesting fellow talk about his desire to be on the select board. And it was just a great community experience. I enjoyed it very much. I was the state representative for the town of Topsham for 8 years. I have a depth and breadth of experience that includes chair of the Health Coverage Insurance and Financial Services Committee that your other Senator Cameron Rennedy serves on now. I did a lot of work on pharmaceutical prices while I was there. I worked with Lydia Crafts and Holly Stovers when I was in the House, and even Chris Johnson, who was in the legislature when I was serving at one point. Prior to being in the legislature, I served on the MSED 75 school board for 6 years, and I also served on my town's finance committee. So I learned a lot about budgeting and municipal finances when I did that. I'm the mother of 5 and have 1 grandbaby. And I lived in Topsom and been married to my spouse. Well, my husband and I were married 2 years before we moved to Topsom 40 years ago. And I also want to say that my policy concerns are certainly women's reproductive rights. I am very, very concerned that we must elect a Democratic majority because of the threat federally to women's reproductive rights. I cannot believe Alabama just made it impossible for people to experience in vitro fertilization by declaring frozen embryos people. And, I think there are a lot of doctors who would probably disagree with them. I am concerned about the resilience of our working waterfronts and fishing communities. And I'm very good friends with Allison Hepler, who is the House Chair of Marine Resources. She is supporting my campaign, and she previously represented the town of Dresden. So I feel that my experience and my leadership skills are something that I could bring to the legislature. I really care about good policy, and I care that you can access me. It's important to me that you be able to give me a call if you have a concern. My house phone number is public. My email is public, and I will be knocking on a lot of doors. And I hope to hear from anybody from Dresden who has a question for me or is concerned about something, or anyone, actually. I'm happy to talk with anyone about policy issues and concerns. So thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Denise. I didn't have your campaign contact information ahead of time, so I don't have that to post into the chat, but if you could do that, that would be great. Any links that you would like to share for people to find out more and connect with you?
Sure. We just changed my my website link, so I'm not sure what the current one is.
That's okay.
So
You can send it to me after.
Yeah, and I'll just put my Facebook on.
Perfect.
And I think Liam probably knows how to find me. So hi, Liam.
Yes, I can add that on.
Great.
Thank you,
Liam.
Liam.
Thank you so much, Denise. Our next candidate that we'll be talking to is a candidate running for my House District 45, Jim Eaton. Jim, welcome. Would you like to share just for a couple of minutes to tell people a little bit about yourself and why you're running?
Thank you. I will make this very quick. My background is I'm a chemist. I have a graduate degree in chemistry. I spent quite a few years in environmental areas. I did research for oil companies. I worked on the environmental impact statement for the Alaska pipeline. I moved back to Maine, and I was primarily doing science-related things in Maine. I managed the button factory in Waldoboro for 8 years as their manager, sort of, I guess. I went to work for the state at the health lab in the 1990s, doing initially environmental testing. I got involved with chemical terrorism after 2000. CDC had a program for state labs, and I was involved heavily in that. I got to meet a lot of people throughout the country. I heard about PFAS and PFOS long before it was mentioned in this state. I actually did some testing on it with the instruments we had. Personally, I'm a paramedic. I've been on my town's service for 44 years, starting out as a licensed ambulance attendant, which no longer exists. I worked my way up as an EMT, as an advanced EMT, and now as a paramedic. I've been a medic since '97. I've run for a variety of services in the state and additionally to my town. And I'm still practicing, believe it or not. I have a wife who is a physician, and she has run several times for the legislature and has been very instructive, helpful, and formulating my approach.
You know she's on this call. You have to be careful what you say.
I know, so I'm trying, tap dancing around it, Kelly. I have 2 daughters. They would dearly love to move back to Maine. Unfortunately, finding a job is difficult. I guess if I have 1 or 2 issues, I see hospitals every day, or not every day, 3 days a week. I work 3 shifts a week. The biggest thing I see is bed availability, psych bed availability, especially. When you see people spend a week in the ED trying to get a psych bed, that's not good for anybody. That would probably be one of my top priorities or top issues that I would work on. Affordable housing certainly is something that I think is very important, and environmental climate change. The one reason I'm running, and I was told I shouldn't say this, but then everybody else has said it, is that the irrationality in the political arena today is probably what's driving me. I'm a fact-based person. I have a science degree. I go where the data tells me, and people have a funny understanding of data. So thank you very much. I hope to get to meet a lot of people as I, start this process. And thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Jim. For those who live in Bremen or Waldoboro, there is a candidate signing happening this Sunday at Perch Bakery, which is on the main drag here, or 1 block downtown in Waldoboro, from 10 a.m. to noon. You can come by, you can talk with Jim, but most importantly, you can sign his ballot petition to help him qualify for the legislature and contribute your $5 for his qualifying contribution for clean elections.
Just one more thing. We had our first campaign get together tonight, and we're still trying to flesh out who does what. So we're in our infancy.
I've been, Brian Colleran got in touch with me today and told
Yes.
me that. He said it went really well, so that's good. So next we have Lydia Crafts, who is the representative who serves in District 46. Lydia is running for her 3rd term of office, and it looks like you might have made it home, I hope, after a long day in Augusta. So Lydia, please.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you. And my apologies, the dogs are really excited to see me. I just walked in after a busy day in Augusta, so thank you so much. Thanks to all the candidates, to Representative Pingree and to Bev for being here tonight. It's so great. I just want to give a little anecdote about signatures and what Lincoln County Dems do for us as candidates, because my seatmates today in the House were telling me how much time they're spending every weekend going door to door, just trying to get signatures to get on the ballot. And I said to them, well, what about your caucuses? I mean, I walked out of the caucus on that Saturday with like 70 signatures to get on the ballot when I needed 25. So every time you all show up to do, whether it's $5 donations or coming to caucuses, it makes our job so much easier to have that support. So thank you very much, because it means we have time then to spend, doing our day jobs, right? Running the state. So I appreciate it. For those of you I haven't met yet, I'm Lydia Crafts. I am serving my 2nd term in the House, House District 46. I live in Newcastle and have the pleasure of representing Newcastle, Damascotta, Noblesboro, Bristol, and Monhegan Island in the Maine House of Representatives. The things that I ran for, I think as we spend time in government, we see kind of the nuances and how complex, running our state government is. And I initially ran around mental health issues, and those, now more than ever, especially coming out of the Lewiston tragedy. And as Jim just mentioned, the workforce shortage, the lack of access to psychiatric care, it continues to be a priority of mine. I just had a work session yesterday on a social work compact license bill, which would allow practitioners from other states to practice under a multi-state license. And with the availability of telehealth services and our expansion of broadband, it means that mental health providers from all over the country would be able to serve Mainers in their homes, close to home, in their communities. So I'm really proud of that work we've done. I am honored to be able to serve as the House Chair of the Transportation Committee this session, which is, does a whole lot of work that's sort of behind the scenes, things that we don't necessarily know, but we oversee the BMV, and the BMV under Secretary of State Shannon Bellows has done an amazing job trying to modernize. And you may have encountered this in being able to schedule appointments at the BMV. I recommend everyone make an appointment to get their real ID, which will go into effect next year. But you can schedule an appointment. You can walk in at the appointed time and meet with someone, right? Cut out all the long wait times. And that to me is a perfect illustration of good government. And it's not the stuff that makes the headlines. It's not always the flashy stuff, but it's, today we referenced a $50 million bill for infrastructure rebuilding to come out of the rainy day fund to really address the impacts of our storms in December and January. And we know that in the state of our climate crisis, those storms are only increasing in severity and frequency. And so making sure that our state is ready to adapt and ready to mitigate the risk of climate change, and our communities, as all coastal communities, really felt that. And it's important that state governments show up and be able to help rebuild, whether that's in DEP permitting. It's also, long-term. We just announced yesterday the offshore wind port at Sears Island. That is looking at long-term goals to meet our climate goals in a really smart way. And we've been able to do that. And we do that with a Democratic majority. We do that listening to fishing communities and making sure that we're not siting offshore wind in prime fishing grounds. There's so many important things we're doing every day that don't make the headlines, but that take really strong collaboration, really cooperative and engaging listeners who are able to find those compromises that really make a difference and move us forward. And so it's been a huge honor, huge privilege. I'm really excited to be entering campaign season for my third term, and I appreciate everyone's support.
Thank you so much, Lydia. Appreciate it. We're looking forward to knocking doors for you and recruiting drivers for you and doing postcards and all of that. The next person we have to hear from is another person who spent her day in Augusta, Representative Holly Stover, who is running for her fourth term to represent District 48. Holly, welcome.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you to my colleagues, Senator Rennie and Representative Crafts, who went before me, and my former colleague, hopefully coming back, Denise Tepler. It was a real honor to serve with her and to serve with my current colleagues. Again, my name is Holly Stover. I'm not sure, I can't see who's on the call. So if you don't know me, haven't met me yet, I have served 3 terms in the Maine House. I live in Boothbay, which is my hometown. And this peninsula is really the heart and soul of my life. The people here, and in my entire district, Westport Island and South Bristol took me in 6 years ago and have been like family to me. So I'm really proud to be running for my 4th term. It seems kind of surreal to be saying it out loud. I came to this position and ran the first time because my true interests were in increasing access to healthcare, increasing access to mental health care. I'm very passionate about domestic violence and sexual assault, and worked as the state's director for those programs for some time. The things that made me run in the beginning, and making sure that people in local communities in small towns like ours, we're small and that we don't get forgotten against really large urban areas. We've done some phenomenal things in the time I've been in the legislature. School funding at 55% is probably one of the things that comes to mind frequently. Property tax stabilization, and finding ways through the pandemic to continue to connect with people. We still have a ways to go. And I said earlier that one of the things that I was incentivized to run, I worked for a long time in adult and children's mental health. I feel as though from the time I was in state government and oversaw the 9 middle counties of Maine in service delivery, we've really slid backwards. We have more people living on the streets than ever before. We have people with major mental illness who are not getting access to treatment. I feel like perhaps this particular term we're in right now, where we have some initiatives, unfortunately born out of tragedy, but we'll take it because we have an opportunity to build some incredible mental health systems back into our state. We can never, I appreciate greatly having supermajority. I also know what happened to state government when we didn't have it. When we had 8 years where basically state government and critical services in mental health and in substance use services and developmental disabilities were basically dismantled. And we're still feeling the effects of that. So we have an opportunity before us right now. We have a bill that will be coming out very soon that will address large scale systems of improved mental health services. We cannot, in the state, in my 3 terms, we have, we've had various gun legislation come forward. And I feel like we've walked up to the line, we've put our toe in the water, we've dipped it in a little bit, we've tried some things, they didn't pass, and then we retreated. And this time, I don't believe, there's no room for that anymore. Personally, I have my stepdaughter, Kimberly Nutt, is on this call. She lives in Newcastle, and I have 2 beautiful grandchildren. And they're 3 and 1 years old. And I think about them when I hear the other voices saying no to the legislation that we're planning to bring forward around responsible gun ownership. I think about my grandchildren, that they should be able to play out in the yard and there shouldn't be a worry, or go to a playground and in a couple years start going to school. We have to continue. Maine lost its, its safety, its feeling of safety in October, but we're going to build it back, and we have to have responsible gun ownership. And this will make some of you cringe, but I would rather lose votes for voting the right way than to not vote for those things and ever see harm come to anyone that I care about. So we're going to do this thing. And that's one of the things we're going to need support, whether it's through letters, letters to the editor, and that's all going to come up in the next 2 months because we're running out of time. And then it's on to campaign season, where we will need you to be driving us around, doing doors, listening to a lot of speeches, and being just the good friends that you've always been. We have an incredible challenge before us. I don't want to be naive about it. We're losing several members, which makes those seats vulnerable. But I'm excited to hear in Lincoln County, where we've had some seats that are held by Republicans, that we have some really great candidates that are running for those seats. And we all need to pull together and rally and support those people. We need those seats back. We need representation in Lincoln County with a strong Democratic hold. So I will work with those other candidates, and we will work together with Lincoln County Democrats, and we're going to win this thing. We must. So I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I'm headed into I guess it's the final countdown. So I want to go big or go home. And thank you all for all your support over the years.
Thank you so much, Holly. I appreciate that. We have one other house, we have one other house seat that we have a candidate confirmed for, but she couldn't join us tonight. Pam Swift, who'll be running in House District 62, which includes Somerville. I have been assured that we will have an announcement, hopefully in the next couple of days, about District 47. It won't come as a surprise to those of you who attended the caucus in Wiscasset, because this potential candidate spoke at that event and said he was this close to committing. We're hoping that that individual, Wayne Farron, will be committing in the next week. We are actively looking for someone to run in House District 53, which includes Dresden, and I want that seat bad. That's Michael Lemelin, and we want him gone. And the Dresden Dems are fired up to help and to work with Kennebec County to find a good candidate, strong candidate there and run. We have two, we have Will Avantaggio is one of the county seats that's on the ballot this year. He is our current judge of probate running for re-election. He is a Democrat. He was not able to attend tonight. I've been in touch with his daughter, Sophie, and we're going to be working with her to help collect signatures he needs to get on the ballot. We have two county commission seats on the ballot this year. One of them is Mary Trescott, who is the incumbent serving District 3. She unfortunately could not join us tonight. She is running for re-election, but we are joined tonight by Evan Gudkowski in Wiscasset, who is running for District 1. Evan, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. I never know if these headphones are going to work. So my name's Evan Gudkowski. I'm running for County Commission District 1, which I just put in the chat, which is Wiscasset, Westport Island, Edgecombe, Booth Bay Harbor, and Southport. If you recognize my name, I ran for 47 last cycle as an independent. So unfortunately for the Jefferson folks and the Whitefield and all the friends that I made up there, I'm not running to represent you this time, but I miss you like crazy. Good people up there. This seat hasn't been contested in 20 years, and a Democrat hasn't held it since before the millennium. So I was in kindergarten, maybe, or less than that, the last time a Democrat held this seat. Some of my background, I have lived in Wiscasset, graduated from Wiscasset High School, hold an associate's in electrical engineering technologies from Southern Maine Community College, as well as a bachelor's in political science and a master's in policy planning and management from the University of Southern Maine. When people ask me what I do for a living, I say, what week is it? Currently, I'm a certified Maine assessor providing property tax services to the town of Westport Island. I'm also a consultant for Coastal Maine Regional Broadband, which is a regional partnership through the Maine Connectivity Authority. So I've been working for the last 3 years to improve fiber internet infrastructure in Lincoln County, and now we're up to Knox and Saginaw County as well. And my family also runs a Christmas tree and wreath business in November and December, and we're located in Woolwich on Route 1. Maybe you've seen us, McPhee's Wreaths. We cause quite a traffic jam, so I apologize. That's usually us. But a few of my policy positions, they're pretty simple. I'm going to throw them here in the chat. I'd like to see us to keep improving reentry programs at our county jail and support substance abuse efforts locally. I want to support more interlocal agreements between municipalities so the towns have formal agreements to share services like code enforcement officers, assessors, etc. You see it all the time in the newspaper. This town doesn't have a code enforcement officer. This town doesn't have a code enforcement officer. It goes on a bunch of different services. And honestly, it's really hard to get a lot of part-time people to work these 16-hour jobs in one town. And we really need to consolidate some of these efforts. And I think that the county can be a partner in helping the municipalities to adopt that. And a lot of people have mentioned a lot of damage from storms on the coast, and I'd like to see all the towns in Lincoln County participate in the community rating system, which is a program that lowers rates for people that participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. There's only, I don't know, less than 30 towns in Maine that I think participate in the community rating system, and it's mostly a public education and flood monitoring program that helps people that don't realize they may be, living in a floodplain. In this day and age, at this point, if you live in a town with a body of water, we should be in the community rating system. That's kind of my background. That's what I'm after. We're going to put my Facebook, email, mailing address. Currently, there's no clean election system for county positions. I accept checks. There's my mailing address right there, 19 Flood Avenue, Wiscasset, Maine. The door's locked, but the key's under the mat. If you need anything, there's only a few boxes of Cheerios from last night. But I take checks, Venmo, PayPal, send me an email. We'll figure something out, and I can throw my phone number in here as well. And if you have any questions about fiber internet in your town or area, please drop me a line, because that's what I work on every single day.
Evan, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Very much looking forward to having all of the candidates come back in a meeting where they will have more opportunity to share their viewpoints, and you will have an opportunity to ask them questions.